You're not skipping lunch?
All right.
Take it back to the office.
Okay, good morning, everybody.
Why am I
And
supposed to
I'd like to call the meeting to order. And before we get started, I'd like to introduce Supervisor John Kozier, who is joining us. John's from Southport. He's supervisor of the town of Stamford. And John has been appointed the new chair of the Economic Development Committee of the Board of Supervisors. So why don't we just run around the room and introduce ourselves to John? Scott already did. Mike.
Michael Bryant, John Hancock.
Good, me.
Just me, John.
John, good.
Sean.
John, good.
Bruce Dahl, I live in Alton.
Thank you.
Andy Matviak, from Sydney.
Therefore, I live in Delaware.
Thank you.
Okay, well, welcome, John,
Thank
and please feel free, we'll. Oh, I'm sorry, online I got Florida Santana.
From the town of Stanford.
There we go. And Wayne Oliver's on there someplace, and Wayne's down in Florida and Florida up in Albany. So we get together by Zoom, works well for us. So, okay, I'd like an approval of the draft minutes from March 31st, please. So second, all in favor?
Aye.
And the financial report, Glenn.
Let's see. So on the treasurer's report, I don't have anything to add on either of the treasurer reports. Everything there is showing what the balances are and what funding has already been allocated. When it comes to the LDC side, everything else is updated on that. Just jumping into the IDA loan report. Number 10 is one that we're focusing on getting on auto pay. We haven't yet. We've got some other ones coming on to auto pay, so we'll be attending that, but I'm not specifically worried about this account. Number 13, they are making payments. They are carrying a past due balance. As it shows, they're current with making their regular payments. Will be due in May. And we'll touch base on them later if we get to another section of the meeting. 14, 15, 16, we discussed a little bit last time. I met with them prior to last month's meeting. We're going to come up with a strategy for bringing them back into payment as things improve with their business over their busy season. They do have some positive things going on, but they still have some of their nagging negative issues as well. Number 17, they have been making regular payments up until March. They haven't paid this month. We will be checking in with them. They've been basically a cash payer as they are seeking to sell their property. Any questions on IDA? No. Okay. Number 11. I gotta get my notes on number 11. Let me just go back to the IDA. Oh, okay. So I had mentioned just back to the IDA quick. Number 21. You might have read about them.
In the Daily Star today.
In the Daily Star today. So they are on, they had a balance due to the deferment we gave them while they were working out their site plan issues in Sydney. They have now come on to automatic payment beginning in April. at a higher level than what is specifically due, just to get them caught up. They'll be gone in a year. I mean, off of our books.
Paid in full.
Paid in full in a year, yes. Sorry about that. And then just because I did finally look at my notes, I skipped over or glossed over number 12 on the IDA. So basically what happened with them is we did look back. They're actually due for 2 payments. They missed a payment in August of 22 and one of January of 23. So it's not, there's just some bookkeeping issues there that we're gonna address with them and hopefully correct through automatic withdrawal.
Number 13, do you have a strategy for that one
So
on the IDA?
yes, so part of the strategy is, continue to work with them to make payments as they are. Long-term strategy is we are trying to hook them up with some potential companies that are interested in lease or purchase of the facility. Right now, they want to remain in operation, so they're only looking at lease opportunities for portions of the facility, which limits them a little bit. But with some of the people who are interested in leasing, I said, price is right. They may consider otherwise. So that's one avenue we're trying to work. And then they will be receiving some support through the county's CARES Act program. And so I'm hoping maybe we can get a little piece of that.
At least a hug out of that.
Yes, well, yes, at least a hug. Yes. Okay, so back to the LDC.
You are on number 11.
Number 11. Where are my notes on number 11? Number 11. Let me skip number 11 because I can't remember that and I didn't write it down. Number 13, that's typical. Number 19, there's no issue there. There was just some issues. They're switching their bank accounts. And so it's just mixed up our automatic payment schedule. And so they're due for several payments. We're supposed to get it back up for May, and they will make a correcting payment to get fully caught up. Number 38, as we've talked about in the past, we're working with Carly on.
So is she getting anywhere?
No. So not very far. Basically, I think what it'll end up at the day is we'll file a judgment.
Sooner is better than later.
Right, yes. Yeah, collection prospects on that are less than positive.
Right. But I'd like a lien on the house and a lien on their life and everything
Right.
else. It's not personal, it's just business.
Right.
You promised, you broke your promise, you sold our collateral. I want my money back.
Right, yes. Number 44, again, that's a typical one in terms of timing. Back up to number 11, and I apologize. I don't know why I didn't write these down as notes. They are, Andy, help me out with this because you're involved with them. They're looking to sell the facility. They've got somebody in there running it on a temporary basis.
They haven't even been open for a month.
Oh, they haven't opened. So what happened with that transfer?
I don't know.
Okay,
Have to reach out to him. He hasn't paid us in about 3 months.
okay,
And there for a while, he was open 2 days a week. We didn't know what day was open. And in the last 3 weeks, he hasn't been open at all.
okay.
I've heard that he wants to sell it.
Yes,
I mean, my concern.
that was
is
his
that-
last communication with us.
Yeah, that we have, which are security in their equipment.
It's the one there.
So I make sure that that's paid, he doesn't start.
Oh, don't we have co-equal first position mortgage on that?
Oh, we do?
I believe so.
thought so.
Yeah,
That's very.
yeah, we have a mortgage on the
Very
property.
good.
Yeah,
So I haven't talked to him. I'm gonna reach out to him this week. and see
yep,
what's-
we'll do the same. Yep. Okay. That's all I have unless there's any questions.
Okay, we've got some bills to be paid. Any comments on the bills? All right, can I have a motion to approve the financial reports and pay the bills? Second?
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, thank you. Catskill Regional Harvest.
Okay, so just a quick update from our side is that with the equipment sales, and I apologize, I don't know why I didn't think of it sooner. I underestimate the power of this medium, but we Sean suggested for the remaining equipment that we put it out on Facebook Marketplace. And within a week, we got like what, 18 inquiries? Yeah. So those are kicking back up a notch and moving along fairly well.
Yeah, I suspect in the next 2 weeks, we'll have pretty much everything. Any of the big stuff will have, you know, either been sold or is on the way to being sold, so. We had quite a bit of attention on that the last few days.
Do we have any inventory in there that's not expired?
Not really,
Food inventory, no.
not that could be resold.
Okay,
No.
because I was thinking anything that's within the expiration date.
Anything that was within the expiration date was sold.
It's gone,
Yeah,
okay,
that's been
all right.
dealt with, yeah.
Yeah, everything else has been, it is expired
So what's
or is
left
not
is
sellable.
dumpster fuel.
We had talked about potentially doing like a garage sale thing. Basically come in, take which, but we've kind of talked about that the assets that we would be putting into that. You know, it would probably take like most of the people in my office out there for a whole day. To maybe gather a couple $100.
Yeah.
We've kind of tossed that out the window, it's not worth it.
Right, at this point, I'm getting, like, Ty, sent me an email this morning with a long list of odds and ends that she's interested in, right?
Mhm.
So it's like, I'm at the point where people who are coming in now have seen the big stuff. And they're going, okay, well, I'll take that, but I'll take this piece and this little thing and this, and so I'm telling people, just make an offer on it, and if it's reasonable, take it, you
Mhm.
know?
And
Yeah.
then at some point, once the big items are gone, you might as well just put the rest of the stuff on the front porch with a free sign and let somebody take them, because we can't really donate them. But the next step is throw them in the garbage,
Right.
so, and then we have to pay the landfill if there's too much,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah, so that's where we're heading there. We have come to terms with Ty's Taqueria for renting facility as we discussed. Under the terms that we discussed at the last meeting. So her lease started April 15th. First month's rent was some in kind. We had to go through some fire inspection and fire suppression things, having all the fire extinguishers updated and blah, blah, blah. And she shared the invoices for that. And we also had to replace the filter in the UV filtering system. And there's a couple other small maintenance related items that she footed the bill for. It come out to a wash, so no cash for the first month. So starting May 1st, she will be paying the month that we had discussed, the rent that we had discussed previously, with utilities and the charge for garbage. So she's in there operating as of now.
Just curiosity, in the article in the paper today, they talked about her opening a kitchen in the Oneonta location.
Yeah, that's basically on like a couple day a week for a couple
Okay.
hour type basis.
So
So basically, the article mentioned the coffee place and their cafe.
Yep.
This is by memory after talking with Jared about it. So basically, the coffee place is gonna run from like whatever time they open in the morning, I think 10. So like 10 to like 3. And then Ty's gonna be in there instead of driving one of her trucks over to provide the food. She's just gonna use their
Okay.
kitchen to provide tacos for a couple hours in the
So
afternoon.
she's still going forward with the ham.
Oh, yeah.
facility. Okay,
Yep, yeah, this is just in addition to that.
great.
Yeah.
Good, thanks.
Yeah,
And
so
what are-
she's like a contract food provider there.
What are the plans with the harvest place?
So, okay, so back to that. So we are going to put that out for RFP. I know I said that last month, but I've dedicated a time slot this afternoon to write that and get that out. And Sean had said that he offered to do it, and I said, okay, if I don't get it out by today, then he will do it on Monday. So yes, we will get it out the door, because I know I'm holding that up. Yeah.
People wanna get in and get ready and if we're gonna open.
Okay.
Mhm.
And the fact we have people interested already.
Yes, there are some people that are interested already.
Did you decide to set a minimum?
Yes, yeah, Sean and I discussed that. We had discussed a minimum back in,
January or February?
yeah, I was gonna say November or December,
Good
but
day.
yeah, it's been several months ago. The figure that was discussed then, obviously it's a negotiation thing, so I don't want to disclose it in public session.
Right.
But yes, we do have the minimum that would completely eliminate any potential burden on the taxpayer. So I'll just put it that way.
Once it's done. Paperwork, then we come and now and what the price is.
No, I'm not gonna include the minimum in that. It will direct them to contact our office for details, and I'm not expecting that someone's gonna read it and then just submit without contacting us first. So it would be at that point that we would disclose, where our minimum bids are starting.
Now, do we have somebody available to show it for them?
Yeah, me, Sean,
Okay,
Yeah.
because, people are gonna get it and they're gonna say, okay, I wanna look at it.
Yep.
one more time. Side and make sure there's no holes in the wall
yeah.
and whatever else.
Yep, I've shown it to 3 separate people. I believe, did you show it to one?
I haven't shown it to anyone who
Was seriously
is
interested.
seriously interested.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good start.
Yeah.
So I don't have nobody.
Mhm. Okay,
Anything else on the?
no, and is there anything else you want to discuss on?
This article?
Yeah, so on the article, just in full disclosure, I have been talking with the reporter on that for about the last 3 to 4 months, and much of the information, especially the dollar amounts when it relates to IDA involvement, I freely provided. I've been, forthcoming and open with everything on it. I was a little surprised that we ended up being the target of the article, because that was never really clearly conveyed. So a little disappointed with that. Obviously, there are some points that I disagree with. I had tried to make it very clear to them on a number of occasions that the IDA's primary role in this project was as landlord and lender, and that it is not the IDA's standard practice to get intimately involved in the details of our borrowers. Other than that, we monitor and then try to help work through issues. And that, the IDA is involvement. One of the big things that I was disappointed about was they said one of the worst things or outcomes of this was the opportunity lost to other businesses. And just, you guys are involved in this every single month. You'll know that there was not a single business that has come to us over the last 3 years with a solid quality business proposal that has been denied funding.
Correct.
So there has been no opportunity cost. And as we discussed that, as we made an investment in this property, as we disinvest from this property, it is still my full expectation that the IDA and LDC will be made 100% whole.
We also have to remember the whole purpose of this project was to try and get our product from Delaware County down to the city. Whether the person who was running it was the right person or not, we couldn't know that until we tried. But the purpose was to help our farmers and our businesses that sold custom-made things to try and give them a spot to do it. It didn't work for whatever reason. It doesn't mean it's a bad idea. I mean, other people are doing it on a smaller version. We were helping businesses with the kitchen where they couldn't do the product in their own home and didn't have a certified kitchen to do their product. So whether they sold it through that store or on their own, they were renting the kitchen to make their product. So we helped a lot of people. It just didn't work right. And it's not to say it won't work in the future. And maybe next time we won't be so involved in it of the concerns, but it's still not a bad idea. And all the time it was open, it helped a lot of people. And that was our purpose of it.
Mhm.
We need to continue.
Right, and as the article stated, even from some of the vendors, they provided the same flexibility to the operation as the IDA did, because they believed in the concept and wanted to see this work, as we all did. And it didn't work. Sometimes that happens.
Businesses fail every day.
Right.
The very last paragraph of the article by Ms. McDowell pretty much sums it up. Everybody tried, everybody thought it was a good idea. Ultimately, it didn't work. That's too bad, but we tried it. That's kind of why we're here, is to try and to help get these things going. Now, I read through it a couple of times and there's a few takeaways, but by and large, we're doing what we're supposed to do. We're helping grow the county.
There may have been a cost to taxpayers, but the time we're done, there shouldn't have been. There won't be any. It's going to be all recouped. So. If anything, it was a time grab.
Right.
If anything.
Mhm.
The businesses responsibility is that. Not much we can do about it, and that's between the people dealing with it. We can't.
But as the mushroom guy said, I gave him too much credit. So they gotta take credit for what they did on their own.
I mean, some of it sold. I mean, they didn't just pile stuff in there and nothing sold.
Right.
Right? A
It was
lot
at the
sold.
end when the thing went down that they were caught with inventory on the shelves they hadn't been paid for.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think it was a management issue. All the goods were being sold. It's just, for whatever reason, overall, the business couldn't afford the next round of purchases. And so it was, as that got sold, instead of using it to pay the current inventory, it was used to pay the next allotment of inventory. And
Was some of this because of COVID slowdown?
no,
No.
no,
It
COVID
actually
was
did
probably
really
one of her
well.
best years. Yeah, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
But we weren't involved in that part of the management.
right. Yeah, nor should we be.
Right,
That's right. That's overreach on our part.
We were the incubator and didn't work, so.
Right.
Try something different.
We're the landlord and a lender. I know where our responsibilities and duties ended.
And the bottom line was this newspaper, used this problem to sell newspapers, so.
And they were owed $3,100, so I'm sure that's where it started from.
Right. So end of the day on this, not to put, cut off discussion on it, that's your purview, but so I did request a meeting with the reporter and the editor, publisher of the paper. Basically, I asked that if we could meet and discuss the characterization of the IDA in the article and how we could try to develop a positive relationship so we could both support the communities that we serve, rather than have this, opposition type relationship.
Why don't you just invite him here?
Yeah.
I mean, you can talk to him first if you want, that's
Mhm.
okay, but invite him here, let him sit in.
Right.
And what's gonna correct this is press releases of all the good things we're doing.
Mhm.
Right.
People can make their own decision. They're gonna make their own decision anyway.
Right.
But there's a lot of positive that this group does that has kept this county strong, so.
Mhm.
You let people know that.
And that's part of what we talked about at our
Our
Blue
organization.
Sky meeting last week.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that a little later in the agenda.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on harvest? Okay, Glenn, you want to talk sewage work corp?
Yeah, so Sewage Works Corp, just because I was a little delayed in getting, I have both. So in your packets, I provided the year end for 2022 profit and loss, and then balance sheet, and then also for the first quarter of 23 for the review of the board. As you'll see in the first quarter, it says that there's a loss on the profit and loss. That's due to timing of when we pay expenses versus when we get recouped. And we're carrying that receivable. At the time, it was 7,700. Now, it fluctuates, but it's typically somewhere between 2,500 and 5,000 we carry as a receivable, just on a revolving basis. And but at the end of the year of 22, there was a positive on the profit and loss statement that was related to some charges we place on when we're involved when we are involved in repair related projects, as well as an admin fee to the IDA for managing the pipeline on behalf of Delhi Sewage Works.
So on a technical standpoint, these two should be pretty close to the same.
Yeah, so the difference there is timing. So
Which had you build them both?
we
or-
build them both at the same time. Saputo typically pays about 2 to 3 weeks quicker than Friesland
All right.
Campina.
So then
So
this is
some of-
not an
yeah.
accrual basis, because. if
No,
it
this
really
is a
was
cash basis.
Accrual,
Yes.
then those two would be the same,
Right.
and your bottom line would be positive,
Yes,
but it really is.
it's a cash basis, yes. But we're in the process of trying to switch over to accrual because everything is, payables and receivables.
Right.
So we're in the process of that.
Because then the next snotty thing that I'm gonna say is that
That's all right.
you can't believe that, can you? We should have a balance sheet that's got this same kind of a period on it so that it ties together. Because the balance sheet was as of the end of the year,
Oh, I did include a balance sheet.
right? But look at the date. I can't see that, that's December 31st.
Right.
So you can't get it all to work when this one ends March 31st. Oh, Oh, you're tricky. All the others were swiped this way. Now you gotta.
I
swipe up.
don't,
Oh, you got me.
I don't know why it worked out that way, but yes, there was the balance sheet that shows it as a receivable.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
okay. Sorry.
Everything's good. You
I got-
smoothly over there?
I got. stuck
yes.
on my own comment. Yes. it
Yes,
is.
yes, it's where, oh, so further on that, because there's still a lot of work to do with that relationship. So as you know, the IDA received a grant from the county to to commission a study on necessary upgrades to the wastewater treatment plant for the village that would incorporate their needs for the future for the village itself and what would be needed to support the current and future needs of the industries. We're in the process of scheduling a meeting. It's going to be hopefully Monday or Tuesday of next week with the engineer on the project, myself, the village mayor, and another rep from the village to sit down and discuss where we are with the study, and then also moving forward as a group. At the same time, we want to negotiate user agreements with the industries for the sewer works component. So does the village of Delhi. And at the same time, they have upgrades necessary for the plant. We have upgrades for the pipeline. So instead of in the past, under the prior administration, everything was you do your thing, we'll do our thing. We've decided we want to work together and just get it done.
Amen.
Yeah.
Did the IDA or the village pursue reimbursement through CWC or DEP or something for that study? Is that possible?
Well, the study was ultimately paid for by ARPA funds. Yeah, so we will be reaching out to CWC when it comes implementation time. Yeah. Yeah, so that's where things are there. So, we're trying to move together.
Of that. So if it's a shared services type contract, for example, that includes plant improvements as well as pipeline improvements, what would be the deciding factor for who kicks in what percentage wise towards the cost for engineering studies and different things like that? Am I misunderstanding the intent?
No, not necessarily. So basically what we're assuming is that we're gonna have one project. That one project is gonna address wastewater treatment upgrades and the pipeline. Through this study, we'll be able to differentiate what portion of the wastewater treatment plant upgrades are due to normal growth within the village and therefore their responsibility versus what's predicated on them trying to meet the needs of the industries. Just roughly speaking, we're anticipating that a very minor portion is related to village related issues. And so, yes, there's likely to be some small cost share component from the village, but the rest of the improvements and the pipeline the expectations would be borne by the industries with support from whatever grants we're able to find for the project itself. But whatever is a net after that would be a charge back to the industries. Yep.
Good. Anything else?
I don't know.
Thank you. You want to go through the pilot application and?
Yeah.
Real?
Yeah, so we received a pilot application from Intra de Aqua. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. But it's Tiberio Custom Meats. Intra de Aqua will be the LLC that owns the real estate, lease it to Tiberio Custom Meats. Their project is progressing. We're working through a combination of private and SBA financing for the project. The project is roughly $2.4 million now. Is that correct? 2.7. I knew it had upgraded. 2.7 is the new number. It was 2.4. The reason for the growth is that in our last call on this, Tiberio discussed a lot of the changes that he has decided he wanted to make in terms of how the meat would be handled and processed in a more efficient manner. So they're going to have, instead of some conventional things where you're cutting from a floor, there's actually going to be lifts that move up and down so you can process the carcass more efficiently and things like that. Obviously, you do things like that, you're adding to your cost. So we're working with it there. The primary lender is on board working through their underwriting in cooperation with another public finance. Well, I guess they're private nonprofit,
Yes.
private nonprofit financial entity
Yep.
that would be handling the SBA side of things and some funding. They're all in their due diligence period. We think things will be moving fairly quickly with that. I spoke to Sean just briefly about wanting to schedule a meeting between Sean, myself, and Adam to discuss site plan approval process and put together what a process would be in a concise timeline for moving forward. So those things are moving forward. The pilot application at this stage is just for your review. At the next meeting, we will bring forth a resolution where the IDA will accept this project as an eligible project for this type of financing, and then have a resolution to schedule a public hearing. I only got this up to our attorney, I think it was only on Wednesday, so he didn't have a chance to review it. There's no real rush at this stage. So at the next meeting, we'll move forward with the starting phases of that.
Town of Walton's good with this.
Yes, yes.
So
They're very supportive of it. It had passed site plan approval in 2017. Yeah, 17 or 18. It had already passed site plan approval. That's obviously too far gone. We'll go through it. If anything, I think this project would be even more acceptable because it's more conventional construction and less modular type units, which were previously proposed. So I think it's something that people will understand and support more.
and the real property exemptions are just on the increased assessed value, not giving up anything on what it is right now for just the bare land.
Right, because currently the IDA owns it, so there's zero.
There's zero.
There's
Okay.
zero taxes paid. So that the benefit there is my estimated value of what the savings would be over a 15-year period. So the savings, the pilot payments, essentially at the end of the day, our pilot comes out to over the life of it, it's a 50-50. You know, they pay 50 and 50 is exempted. You know, it's different percentages over time to help with cash flow. So what will come in is that same number as new revenue. Yeah, over the next 15 years.
And here's another business that's gonna help everybody,
Yes,
the farmers. Individual people who have a couple animals on their property, so
Mhm.
there's an opportunity for everybody again.
right.
11 jobs.
Yes, and 11 jobs. And as opposed to previously, when this was going to be a split project, this is solely a Walton project now. So everything will be done in Walton. Previously, some of the jobs and some of the operations were going to be split between two locations.
But it also increases trucking to the site, so there's other outside jobs that are gonna come out of it.
Mhm.
One thing that impressed me, and Gwen touched on it, was in our last phone call. He had a presentation from a company in Canada who manufactures the equipment that goes in the inside of the production line. And he had a video from this company. And they do a lot of high-end meat plants across the country. And in Canada. And everything is it's highly automated, it's safer for everybody. And it was a pretty interesting.
It's a high pressure cold water. Nothing left but a bone.
Right.
Yeah, it's a whole lot different than it used to be.
Workers' comp costs are just
So
terrible.
what's the
That's
timeline?
why all the most funds in that.
I think tentatively right now, they're thinking about being through everything in construction starting in an August type timeframe. Yeah, August of this year. Yeah,
Fantastic.
Guys hung in there.
yes.
Tried 2 or 3 spots around the county, but
Mhm.
that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, Glenn, you want anything else on?
No,
You want to jump to talk about the goal setting meeting?
yeah, I know. That's why I want to meet with you. Yeah.
You want to talk about the goal setting meeting?
Oh, yeah, I just thought, since we had our board retreat type of thing, I think it would be just positive if we just wanted to recap some of the goals that the board had identified for 2023, moving forward to improve processes at the IDA, just for public record. Do you want to? You want me to do that or?
Yeah, I mean, I brought the sheet with me from our meeting. I'm going to need help here on some of this stuff.
Okay,
So, we talked about, working on our compliance, with the comptroller's office, and we had some problems with our website and so forth that has to be changed, or addressed. And, we did that, or we will work on that. Transitioning all lending from the, IDA into the LDC, which again is going to bring us more into compliance with the state suggestions. I don't think it's a regulation.
no, it's not a requirement, but just,
But it's a suggestion.
yeah,
We talked about doing professional development opportunities for new employees. And we have another employee, it's coming online here.
May 15th.
May 15th, okay. We talked about improving organizational marketing. I brought up the fact that I thought that Lillian could play a stronger part in that role. I've talked to Lillian. We haven't got anything firmed up on that, other than she's willing to work with us, and we just got to sit down and address that situation. I think there's a lot to be gained there.
and you want me to just sum up some of the rest?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so that was more on organizational goals, and then more for our activity related operations. Basically, it was during COVID, some of our business activity slacked a little, and well, not slacked, dropped off a little, just because people were just trying to survive. In the past, we had been able to have a very proactive approach, getting out into the community a lot more. Now that, we're past the pandemic, it's time to get back out doing that, to better educate the communities in terms of what services we can provide, return our lending performance back to what it was in a pre-COVID timeframe, maybe increase that a little bit. Same with grant opportunities, either that are available in conjunction with partnering with us for state funding, or in assisting them directly in state funding. Basically being present within the communities more, so that we can build up all these opportunities that are available to businesses and make them aware of it to help them grow. And then with the new person coming on, which would be an ag economic development specialist, we'd have a person dedicated solely to the agricultural industry to increase our focus there. And then also we had a number of specific related goals under our site development operations of the IDA. And, that goes back to the IDA's goal of continuing wanting to work on and make sure we have a supply of properties that are ready for redevelopment or new development in terms of shovel-ready sites to support business growth. And that's kind of how I would sum it up.
One of the things that we also took care of in that meeting, we talked about, and, even, that wasn't an official meeting, so maybe we need to take some formal action at this one. But, I asked the board to approve establishment of another committee to work on what I call special projects. These are large, very transformative projects that could have a huge impact on the county. I asked Florida to head up that committee, and Florida's here on the big screen. We had our first meeting with Florida, Sean, and myself, along with Diane Monroe from the Margaretville area. Diane is a board member of ORDA. ORDA is the organization that owns the Bel Air Ski Center. And we talked to Diane about the status of the development of the Bel Air, the proposed Bel Air Resort, and the purchase of the Bel Air Resort of High Mount Ski Area and all of that. So, Farida, do you want to spend a few minutes and run through this?
Sure. Sure.
Maria sent a bunch of information to me, and I tried to get it printed, but we had issues with the Delaware County email system as usual. And we have to go the long way around because of this antiquated system that we have with the county. So I will get those documents printed and distributed. Probably we'll have to put them up on the Google Drive system to get them out to everybody. But there's some good information here. I'll hand out some. I don't know if I've got totally enough, but I'll hand it or send it around.
Well, I did email it to everyone this morning because one of the documents is over 100 and I don't know, close to 150 pages long. Okay, so which is the agreement that they're kind of, hanging their hat on, that they've been waiting for New York State to perform on. So it's worth reading so that you have some supporting documentation as to what their expectations are, why they're leaning towards waiting on New York State and what have you. I think it was a productive meeting. It allowed her to see that that we're interested in participating. We didn't necessarily get into the weeds as to what our participation is going to be. I think we did a great job. James did a great job of sitting back and letting her speak and what she thought, how this project is moving forward. She seems to be really optimistic that the state is going to step up. I'm not as optimistic as she is, but I didn't want to rain on her parade. Right now it's just not a priority, but she's under the impression that there's meetings that are occurring on the state level in discussing this project. I think that we did a good job of putting the bug in her ear, saying that we would like to participate and that maybe a public-private partnership would be the better approach to this project. But at this stage, she was going to be, she set out to schedule a meeting with Mr. Pasternack's attorney, who's not going to be back to the 12th of May, I believe it is. And she wanted Sean and myself to join her in that meeting. I know that Sean, I don't know, were you able to follow up with the attorney, with Glenn, that does the bonds that we work with in terms of the IDA board works with?
We haven't spoken yet. I think we we were thinking next steps would be, let's get something on the calendar with Mr. Pasternak's attorney, and then we can kind of go from there and bring it on council and figuring out where we need to go.
I'm just curious as to how we can participate. So I wanted to, look at, meeting with our attorney, say, okay, how can we actually participate so that when we sit down with his attorney, we're clear as to what we can deliver. You know what I mean? As opposed to just sitting there and just hearing him out and not having any direction.
Yeah.
So, but I think it was a good meeting. I think she got a good feel, from us and us of her. If she feels the state is going to do what they agreed to do and the agreement you guys have in your email, that'll be great. But if we could get our ducks in order and present to Mr. Pasternak's attorney an alternative viable option, I think that would be the better approach. Your thoughts, James, on that?
Well, I think we had, the meeting was, to me, was very successful. I think it was just a preliminary meeting and, a lot's kind of fallen into place with Diane. She was, up until this week, she was the temporary superintendent of schools for Margaretville School District. That's ended now, so she's back in retirement.
Retired, she says.
And she can focus 100% on the Bel Air project. So I think it's all good. And then, I think it's good that we had that preliminary meeting and got things started.
Agreed. I mean, and I reached out to different investors that have been interested in the region in the past. And because I'm trying to get a feel for who's interested in putting a boutique hotel there, because the main issue that they're having, aside from the funding from New York State and all that, is accommodations. So I'm already reaching out to different investors and it's just like, which is first the chicken or the egg. They're like, okay, well, show me the numbers that justifies us making that investment. So delivering that the project is moving forward will be the key component in getting these investors to come in and hang their hat to say, sure, let's invest and make some, hotels and what have you there in that area.
The other positive thing I think is I noticed this morning that the newspapers are starting to say that there is at least a preliminary budget agreement on the table up in Albany. We're a month late, but that's okay. They're getting there. So hopefully that'll help.
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
The other thing I wanted to mention was that possibly in line with this committee is another project that I had envisioned as a possibility for the committee is the hotel in Delhi. I noticed that, Wayne pointed this out to me and Glenn responded. There's a visit on behalf of the SUNY Chancellor at SUNY Delhi on, what is it, Tuesday, Glenn?
Yeah, Tuesday, the 2nd.
And Glenn's going to attend the meeting and we're trying to at least get our face up there with, with the administration.
Along with everybody else in the village of Delhi.
I understand. But
You'll stand out. We're confident.
it's like 7 lawyers at the bottom of a swimming pool. It's a start.
Right, yeah.
Okay. We'll move on and any other old or new business?
I just had one thing as a FYI to the board. Did we mention EDA, the tourism grant? Okay. Okay, so last year, we not the IDA, but the larger we, through economic development, applied for, sorry, I didn't have enough for you.
Probably work for the county.
And he didn't charge your cost center for that paper, otherwise he would have.
Oh, that's right, I gave, yeah, sorry, you don't get that either. Board members come first, sorry. Wayne and Florida, I'll send it to you, I'll send you a copy. So we applied for a $258,000 grant through Empire State Development for the development of a interactive outdoor recreational map to cover the entire county that will map all outdoor recreational assets. Our vision was to also include nearby businesses, to highlight what's other things are available there. One of the conditions of the grant, because it's ultimately being funded by EDA, you can't benefit any other businesses directly. We can't name them by name. I don't even think we can put icons that it's like a restaurant. So if you have like a restaurant near a kayak rental place, you can't acknowledge that there's a kayak rental place with the EDA funding. Subsequent to that, we could come back and augment the app to include those things. But so this is just for the base app to, it would like map trails, show where, just any outdoor recreational asset. So we applied for 258. We were asked to reduce our award down to 250,000 because they could approve us at 250, but not 258. So we were able to find $8,000 in savings. And after this meeting, I will be replying back to them with the budget amendment to move forward. They say that they will quickly follow up with a grant disbursement agreement to move forward. We'll be talking about this on Wednesday. Yep. And then we can move forward with the project. That's just kind of an FYI.
Good stuff.
Working in conjunction with the planning department.
Now, there's some,
But I don't get it.
You do get one. You just don't get a hard copy.
A lot of that work has been done. I
Yes.
think, through the Pasco.
Yeah, most of it's already mapped.
Yeah.
Yep. So now it's just putting it into a format that is compatible on cell phone as well as, regular laptop, computer, PC kind of thing.
We're just taking it off the shelf and dusting it off.
What about the marketing component associated with it? Like as far as getting the app out there and.
There's a little bit of money in the budget for that. We had a separate proposal for almost 400,000 that would have been a full-blown marketing campaign. Basically with this trimmed down version, we have a limited marketing budget. I forget exactly what it is. Yeah, like around $12,000 to $15,000. That would be payable through this grant. There will likely be other opportunities for marketing it when it's completed through other sources, perhaps through occupancy tax funding that the county has received, or if it goes this long, it'll be planned for in the 24 budget. Yeah. Because this will take several months to build, and it'll probably be early 24 before we would be rolling anything out anyway. So we would be able to marry it with a locally funded marketing campaign. Yeah.
that started yesterday, the town of Hancock one. You buy it, they don't buy it, it's free on Android. And if we can link these two together, so they go from one to the other. If they
Yeah.
need to.
And it would be, that's part of it. It would be
What
linked
would
on
it- what would it
everybody's.
take to get all 19 towns with a similar town app. I mean, how much can that possibly, that didn't cost Hancock that much, I think.
This is that. What's the program called? Richard.
Richard Lowe
Yeah.
was It does have some quirks in it, like some clown put my personal email on there. Town justice, I'm not in favor of that at all.
Don't like the fine you got last night? Send it to this email.
Oh, okay, yeah, so Richard's told me about this, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it costs very much for them to do it. And then the partners project links to this and whatever else you want.
Anything else under old and new business?
Glenn, have you heard back from Jackie Rose at all? Glenn, Jim and I were on a conference call with the polluted land on Delaware Avenue to see if that could be redeveloped. We should kind of get funding for that. You heard anything?
Yeah, basically what came about that. So Jackie Rose had reached out to, I'm probably gonna misquote the name. So I'm not even gonna, but it was a realtors association that was potentially going to help provide funding to clean up what used to be, well, still is, the GCL tie and treating Superfund site over in Sydney. And moving forward with that, how to progress it from you know, the status that it's in the Superfund. There is a probably about a third of the property that can be transitioned back into private use. What would be necessary and some funding assistance from them in order to do that. Basically, unfortunately, the end of the day was where it stands currently with EPA. It's not ready yet. Let's revisit this issue in 24. Yeah. Because basically what's going to happen is this has been going on for 20 years. They've been doing it and cleaning it up. There's still ongoing monitoring. Some of it will never be clean. And so the EPA has to issue a final report on the permanent measures that would be in place. And then it would potentially transition over to state ownership. And then once it becomes state ownership, it would be much easier to acquire through the state as opposed through the federal government. So we're kind of still in that limbo.
Thing that amazed me, I had no idea how large that site was. I mean, it's 30 some acres.
Yeah, because there's the
Altogether.
main parcel, and then due to wetlands at the, I'll say, bottom end
West-
of it,
west
it
end of it.
continues into a neighboring property
Yeah.
that is privately owned. Yeah, west end, yeah.
Into Shenango County.
Yes, into Shenango County.
That plume is bigger than they thought it was.
Where's that
Yes.
located, one?
So Delaware Avenue, you know, the one side of it, the plazas are all on the left.
Okay, so
The whole right-hand side that is treated that area in and back there.
Across
Yeah.
the street
that's
from
where
McDonald's.
Mirando's convenience store is.
Tractor
And
Supply.
Yeah.
ULM is behind it from there down. And
God, I wonder what the hell was in there.
Creosote.
Creosote?
Yes.
The way they treated the ties was they dug a hole, they dumped creosote in, they took the ties
Yeah,
in. When the
absolutely.
creosote leached out, they took the ties out.
Figured that and get out to too.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Save me in public.
Yeah, you're sitting on one of the biggest creosote, second biggest creosote deposits in the county.
The
Right
IDA
here,
had title,
the Agway
nominal
building.
title to that at one point in time.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I remember
It
going.
was the Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Remember the
Yes.
barrels? with
Yeah.
the
Mailed the deed
creosote
away
with
in
the
the middle of the night. one night.
Oh, yeah. Wow, that's going back.
Yeah, right. Okay, we have no other old or new business. I have a motion to adjourn the IDA.
So moved.
Second, please. Thank you. And I'll open the LDC meeting. Have approval of the draft minutes.
Second.
In discussion, all in favor,
Right.
opposed, approval of the financial reports.
Mike, that's yours to move.
Okay, just one time. I move to approve.
Second, please. All in favor?
Got a weak moment.
All right, we have a loan request, PMH Properties. LLC.
Executive session. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we need to go into executive session for that. May I have a motion to do that, please?
Motion to go to executive session.
Thank you. Okay, we're back. In the executive session, we discussed a loan application for PMH Properties LLC. And have a motion, not please. No move. Second,
I'll second it.
okay, all in favor?
I'll back it.
Opposed. And we also discussed the the loan or grants that have been approved under the CARES Act program, and no action is necessary there.
Oh, no, we did say we would have a resolution to approve.
Oh,
For the LDC
oh, okay,
funding,
all right,
and I'll make that motion.
all right, second, please.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Sarah, no, Sarah,
Second.
it's like your first almost $1 million one. Go ahead.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed?
Hey,
Any other old or new business for the LDC?
Yeah, I did have one other thing, and sorry, just to refer back to the LDC loan report. Number 20 on that list. They received funding through us through our agri lending program. The loan is to the LLC, that is the name there. The loan was guaranteed by a separate business and the individuals of that business as well. The owner of the LLC named here is stepping away from the business and is selling all his interest to our personal guarantor, the business that is our personal guarantor. They would like to assume the debt from number 20 and put it onto their books as the purchase of it, essentially buying it out that way with the same collateral, the same personal guarantee. What I had told, what I would like them to do is to actually have that company provide us with the information, tax returns, profit and loss of that business, personal financial statement. We would make a new loan to them that would close out this existing loan over the remaining terms and at the same rate as what we currently have. I threw that back out at them and gave them a time frame of when we could look at that. I don't know, this was a 2019 loan.
Isn't that out of the area?
Yes, this is in Groton.
Yeah.
Part of the conditions for us receiving our agri lending funding was that we would agree to service ag-related businesses in Delaware, Broome, Tioga.
Portland.
No, we only have 4 because Street Eck has the other 4. I forget what the 4th one is. Oh, Shenango County. So our territory is the eastern portion of our region, and then Street Eck has the western portion. So this was one of the loans we made there. And if you will recall, the personal guarantees of the people of the business that will be taking over were our main impetus for making this loan.
They've never been behind.
No, they've never missed a payment. They're on automatic payment since the get-go. Never had an issue. Yeah, so that was, I just wanted to run that by you theoretically, and they will be providing information at the next meeting or potentially June to accomplish that.
I'm assuming everything changed. You're doing a new.
Or essentially, we'll do a new loan. Yeah,
So, but you're doing for the balance of money left on this one.
yes, to keep the payments the same. So there's 40. I think by the time we get through this, I estimated there'd be 42 payments remaining on their note. So we would make a loan for the principal balance over 42 payments at the same interest rate. So the payments all remain the same. Theoretically, there may be, yeah. So theoretically, they might incur some new interest costs up front, but we'll figure it out at the end of the day to make it so it's copacetic.
You're acting like a real banker. That's.
I
good.
thought you'd like this
I
one.
do.
I was thinking of you when I wrote this email.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm like, Scott would prefer it like this.
Well,
Okay,
And also, it gives us credit for a second out of county loan on our regional loan portfolio.
Yes, good.
You're gonna be chairman of that board.
Never.
Any other old or new business? And can I have a motion to eat lunch?
So moved.
Thank you.
Have a good one, everyone. Take care.
Florida.
Take care.
Chairman of another